This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Ampire. Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday. You know what today is, Callow?
What's that?
It's my birthday.
Oh,
it's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. To everybody on every social media, it's like the worst part of birthdays now. The social media chain of, I appreciate everyone said happy birthday to me. Responding to 8,000 people, because that's my nature to be like, thank you, or at least like the post.
Right.
Whew. I think we need to can we do something where just have an automated thanks response? I can press it once and it goes to everybody. So,
thank
you.
Your boy Zuckerberg has AI on Facebook now, so maybe you actually can tell the AI to just thank everybody for you. But then maybe
I got my wish this year, by the way. Obviously, I've wished for this for my life, that we'd potentially go back to the Super Bowl and maybe just do that on Sunday. So everybody knows when I close my eyes and blow out the candles tonight, I don't need to tell everybody what my wish is. They know what it is something that might happen later this weekend. That'd be nice.
It's kind of funny, actually, that your birthday falls at this time of the year. My birthday falls in mid-October, and I always just wanted playoff baseball. So I got my wish in 2019. They advanced to the World Series the day before my birthday. So I don't know. There's some synergy there where your birthday falls and my birthday falls of them getting to a championship.
So let's see what happens this weekend. All right, let's get into it a little bit. I saw Kellen Moore did an interview. And he said there's no change to their, well, I don't know why he would say anything different, but he said there's no change to their game plan with Jalen Hurts hurt. And I think hurt's the right word here because they're not saying injured. He's going to pop up on the injury report today. If he doesn't, there's something oddly wrong, obviously. If they're going to sit there and pretend he doesn't have a knee injury, so they're going to put him on the injury report, and then we'll see if he practices or not. And then we'll see what they say about it because it's Wednesday. So he's going to speak, and he notoriously doesn't say very much in general. And I don't think Sirianni's going to be stupid enough to spill any goods about what's going on here. So they're playing it cool as much as they can. So we're going to be reading the tea leaves. Kincade brought this up. John Kincade's going to be on in a little bit. I roasted him for all the things he keeps saying about us, like all the dismissive things he actually continues to say about this team and about how they want to play them. I'm like, okay, buddy. Anyway, he did say something that you'll hear in this interview that I thought was interesting, that the line moved significantly. And he goes, that's just based on news out of the facility that Hurts is okay. He goes, otherwise it wouldn't move like that. And I'm like, I think you're right about that. So the word, at least early this week, is nothing to be overly concerned about with him, but I'm going to believe it when I see it with how he moves on Sunday. If they're not calling zone reads with him at all, if he's not rolling out designed, if he's not scrambling very much and eating it, I think you're going to know everything you need to know about his condition.
Not only that, the line only moved like half a point, right? It wasn't.
He said it was significant. It went from 4.5 to 6 or 6.5, something like that.
Okay, maybe I saw 6, so a point and a half is what I saw.
That's a pretty big move on a Tuesday for that to happen.
No, I agree. But I also think are we not taking into account a lot of people moved on to the Eagles? So you know how this works with Vegas, when a bunch of people jump on, they move the line a little bit to hedge themselves. So I don't know. That could be both of those things, but sure. Okay. If you think Jalen Hurts is worth 1.5 points, fine. I'll hear you out on that.
And if you're into, things happen during a week where things start to break up. Kellen Moore did interview with the Cowboys. Ben Johnson did interview with the Bears before he actually took the job and left. Of course, the Lions fans are all they've got the butthurt thing going on with him. He wasn't focused on our game. Really?
Come on. Like,
yeah, I know. Come on.
These interviews are what? The first interview is always like an hour or something. Plus, he's a coveted head coach. If you really wanted him, how much were you going to have to interview him anyways? Like,
we were talking about him in December, and this was his name was linked to it the second Matt Eberflus was fired. It's the same thing like Adam Peters. Like, we knew that Washington was going to hire him. Like, everybody knew that was going to happen. It was just a matter of time before it actually did. And the same thing here. So we'll see. I got a funny feeling because Dallas is waiting that he's the guy, huh? You think Kellen Moore's the guy?
I don't know if he's the guy. Schefter was on Undefeated yesterday, or not Undefeated, Unsportsmanlike on our airwaves yesterday. And they brought up a great point of how come the Cowboys list looks completely different than everyone else's list?
Because there's somebody specific they want. That's why.
Well, and it like Schefter even went out of his way to say, like, yeah, we had to do a whole separate segment because all the people that they're interviewing, no one else is interviewing. So, like, what's the direction they even want to go? Like, is this Jerry has a specific person type in mind? I think
it's him. I think it's Kellen Moore. That's what I think it is.
Well, and if it's Moore, I wouldn't be surprised because Jerry wants to pat himself on the back and tell everyone how right he was. Because remember, that was the first thing McCarthy did was like, I want to call plays now. And they fired him, and then he pops over to Philly. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's part of the Jerry kind of ego at play here, where he actually wants to. The name's escaping.
It's his guys too. They can be unconventional. Jason Garrett, Dave Campo.
Yeah,
like
right.
Every once in a while, he goes and he picks like the name Parcells, Mike McCarthy.
I was going to say McCarthy. Yeah.
Sometimes he's picked his own guy. And I think there's a fear down there that he was going to pick Jason Witten and make him the coach.
Well, and then weren't they talking about Schottenheimer too? Like,
yes.
So, I mean, here's the thing too. Jerry's actually been like right about his head coaches. Like, they've had very successful regular season, success. Like when they put Garrett in there, and no one thought Garrett was going to be as good as he was. He didn't get it done in the playoffs, but none of them have gotten it done in the playoffs. So I don't know. I think he's been good enough.
The Garrett one seemed to go on way too long, though. That was one of those where it hung on. Like, people were like, what are you doing? Make the move. Get someone to take him over the top. And it was kind of too late. Then they finally rebooted around. I think it was a mistake to let McCarthy go personally. Just the way that they played. I don't understand it. And if the Dion thing was going to happen, I have a funny feeling like it would have happened by now. Like, that whole momentum of that seems to have fizzled really fast. Like, really fast. Like, you're just not hearing much about it. The insiders aren't talking much about it. So it sounds like to me, Jerry's going to go with someone he just knows. And it's probably Kellen Moore. He's probably waiting out to see what happens this weekend to see if he can hire him.
I think you have to think with Dion too. Dion also demands a certain kind of attention. And if Dion doesn't feel like he's the number one option, I don't think he's, warming up to it. I think was the phrase that was being used last week. I don't think he's about it anymore if he's been sitting and waiting like this for over a week.
Dion doesn't wait for nothing.
That's right. Yeah,
like, you either want me or you want me. Like, he doesn't get in line to get into the club. He walks up to the bouncer and walks in.
That's right. He's like, you want to interview Kellen Moore before hiring me? No, I'll be back in Colorado. Like,
you're not sure. Yeah, right. You're not sure you want me. Okay, like, goodbye. All right, let's see. Today, I'm very eager to hear the messaging of the week because they've been very good about this. It's been subtle. They don't go out of their way to make, T-shirts that Motram's going to put together yet, but it's subtle, but you'll hear it. And I'm eager to hear what that is. I know it's going to remain very businesslike. I know it's going to remain they're going to pretend it's just another game. It's not, but they're going to act that way for sure. I buy Dan Quinn on all, the process doesn't change. It hasn't changed through any of this at all, through all of it. So I believe them on all of that, but I can't really wait to hear what position they're going to take about this. Cause this one is different. It's to go to the Super Bowl. It's the NFC Championship. It's a team you've played twice already. It's a team extremely well. I want to hear how they're going to kind of phrase what this is, the overarching storyline of it, because most of the time I can kind of guess it. This week I can't. I want to hear how Quinn kind of puts this into context as they kind of move forward, albeit I know that it's going to be from a business-like standpoint, because that's the way he's been all year.
I think we got a taste of it after the game, and some of the players on social media, I felt after this game, they were pumped, they were celebrating it, but they were specifically kind of going a little bit harder at that we're not satisfied line. And I just thought they've been saying it all along, even in the regular season, but I thought there was a little bit more of it on Saturday night than there was before, and a little bit of it on social media. So I'm just guessing here. I think that's what it's going to be. That like they know that there's a trip on the trip to the Super Bowl on the line here. But even if they win this, like they're still not satisfied. And I also think they've been very good at compartmentalizing the last 2 weeks. Quinn went out of his way last week to say we can only work on what we can work on today, on whatever hour we're on. We can't worry about what's going to be happening leading up to the game. So I don't know. I think it's just going to be a kind of a calm business-like approach here. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think this has been part of, and I think why outside a lot of people don't believe in what they're doing and still can't believe in what they're doing is traditionally this story has an arc and it ends and everybody's just happy with what they accomplished because this is beyond expectation. So, but they haven't acted that way the whole time. I've talked about this for weeks where I'm like, they don't want award season. They don't want you telling them that 12 wins was amazing. You know, like, wow, what a great first year. Quinn doesn't want to hear it where you're like, you know, that's the most wins any first-year head coach has ever had here. He's like, I don't want to talk about that right now. He's like, yep. I appreciate you noticed. You know, he's like, but I don't want to talk about that right now. If we start talking about that right now, it means we're not focused on what's ahead of us, and there's still something ahead of us. And they've all bought into that. Like they're celebrating these things differently. Like I saw the Cartier glasses and I saw the music after the Tampa Bay one. So they are soaking it in a little bit more, at least publicly, than they were in the past. Like you used to see the locker room clips and they're celebrating and they're happy and they're doing all the typical stuff, but it's the typical stuff. Here's the game ball. We're not done yet. Anybody, like all the mottos, screaming, yelling, dancing. The last couple of weeks have had a little more chains on planes to it with the Cartier glasses and all that stuff. So they're soaking it in a little bit more, but messaging wise, and I expect it to be this way today too, that they're not done and they don't care if you think they've been a great story and they're playing with house money. They don't think that. And that's what I love about this too, is that I don't go in there at all. I didn't go in there last week thinking that way about it because they were not acting that way about it. And the whole broadcast that we were doing, I just kept saying like, this has been a great year, but I'm just going to echo what they've been telling me. They think they're going to win. They don't think this is an upset. They don't think it's house money. They don't want a parade for making it to the second round of the playoffs. So let's go see what they do tonight. And then here they go.
No, I think the way that they've celebrated isn't a like jubilation. Oh my God, we have an upset. It was we thought we were going to win and we're going to celebrate accordingly. Like there are different levels of celebrating after some of these games. You know, like you always hate how in baseball they have a champagne party, you know, after every single round. But that's just how it is in baseball. I think for football, when you're the lower seed like that, and you're taking out the number one seed, the celebration looks a little bit different, but this one looked normal-ish compared to what they've been doing all season long, essentially. And it's also, celebrate a freaking win. You know, like that's okay. Like I'm not mad at that at all whatsoever because I know they're going to bounce back and be back to work on Monday or be back to work today, literally.
You know, I understand outside the dismissiveness that's been there just because they haven't been a high-profile team, but that's also just the other teams not doing or their fans doing the work to understand who their opponent is.
That's right.
Because like we were talking about this like for the last couple of weeks, I'm like, I don't know how you can't watch them and be frightened to death to play them, especially this quarterback, and how you just all you're doing is you've seen highlights, you've seen whatever nickname Berman gave Jaden Daniels, like whatever that is. You've seen the scores, you think they're close, but because your team scores a lot, you think you're just automatically going to win. Blinders up to that you have a bad defense. Like by the time I had gotten around to Friday, I didn't actually think it would actually be an upset. Like, yeah, winning there was going to be hard. Their offense is amazing. Their defense is bad. Like, I just didn't think it was going to be that much of an actual upset. But I guess Vegas did and the outside world did. And now here they are again. And I'm hearing echoes of it again from Philadelphia. Like, that's kind of it's kind of on the nose for their people to, you know, be kind of loud and mouthy about the whole thing. But the fact that, like, that I don't even hear a pause out of them after Washington beat them a month ago in a game they had no business winning, and your quarterback is hurt and you know it. Like, I just, it's surprising to me, but you know what? I'd rather keep it this way. Go ahead. You know, like keep saying all, like, Washington winning. Like, if they lost, I wouldn't be surprised. The Eagles are really, really good. I respect what they are. They have an incredible roster. Their defense is scary to me, but Washington winning again really wouldn't surprise me. I've already seen them do it. So I don't really quite get at this point, it's not a secret anymore. It's a total open secret, but no one wants to see it or believe it, really.
To me, like you're talking about the Commanders like messaging. To me, it's the Eagles fans messaging that's wrong here. Like, had they had a different approach this week, and I haven't seen a lot of them do this, where it's like, hey, Hurts is banged up, but you know what we got? We got the best offensive line in Saquon. We'll take that any day of the week.
Yes.
I'll hear that argument. But the fact is, for some reason, every single week it's, oh, your quarterback's a rookie, and like that doesn't matter. He's not going to come in here. Like Joyner on WIP on that Monday, says not a snowball's hell and chance he's going to walk in here. Stop making it about him. Like, if you want to argue, use your team, but this is the one person that you shouldn't be poking the bear with. Like, he's the one that we know is going to show up and be a stud on Sunday. So
he's a killer.
Yeah,
he's a stone cold killer.
He's the Terminator. He's the Terminator. That's what I keep calling him. He's emotionless, and he's going to steal your soul while he's doing it.
Yeah, it's really amazing. The big question I have, and I spend the next couple of days talking about it a lot, is can Washington even run it at all? I thought it was a nice development that against Detroit, B-Rob had what I thought was kind of a wake-up game for him. Eckler, who I think has been saving grace of the running game for the last few weeks. McNichols had a nice moment with the touchdown. They were able to rely on everybody. Jaden, I just trust to make plays with his legs. So that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, it's scripted runs. Can they run the ball? This is a team that hasn't gotten out of its own game planning, even when the running game over the last 5-6 weeks hasn't worked. I'm not surprised they had a better night against Detroit. Go look at how beat up their front is. Go look, it wasn't going to take much for Washington to run the ball better. And it was predictable to me that they were going to run the ball better. And obviously they needed to. They wanted to slow the game down. They ended up in a track meet anyway and won. But I think that's what they wanted to do. This week's going to be very different. With Cosme out, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, underrated. They have a very, very, very good year. The front in general, very fast linebacker. Zach Bonds had a Pro Bowl All-Pro year. That's one of the pickups of the year. It's one of the best bargains of the year. He's getting paid nothing. He had an All-Pro season for them. And they have some speed on the outside, and they're willing tacklers on the outside. Running the ball is going to be at a premium for them outside of whatever Jaden does that, find some space and make some magic tricks. But it's one of my big questions this week. Can they run the ball at all this week, or with any kind of consistency at all? And I'm not really sure I know the answer to that.
The only thing I can kind of think of is if, Cliff goes heavy zone reads here, because you're going to, get them tilted a little bit. The only problem with that is Jaden, you run the risk of him getting hit over and over if you decide to run that. I've kind of thought about this, that if you're going to try running the ball, you're probably going to try, you're going to try doing it throughout the game like they have the last 2 weeks. I also think the solution to winning this game is going up by a couple scores on them and forcing Hurts to pass the ball here. So I'm going to be very interested to see what the game plan is from the jump of the gate here, because I think you have to play this one a little bit different to try to get their whole entire team off tilt, play some complimentary football.
Yeah, I don't think you want to play from behind here for sure. And play it up front, then you get to find out what Hurts' situation is. That's probably the right way to go. All right, we'll be right back. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. You sign up for something, forget about it after the trial period ends, then you're charged month after month after month. The subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. In fact, I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now I'm saving more money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon.
Head to Whole Foods Market to jumpstart your January during our New Year boosting event with savings on feel-good favorites store-wide. Save on organic picks, wellness staples, and more all month long.
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs. like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I can't believe we get to do this for a third time this year. I'm so excited to speak to my friend and colleague, John Kincade, one of the prominent voices in Philadelphia Sports Radio 97.5, The Fanatic. It is so great to talk to you for what will be the biggest game in the rivalry's history, a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Amazing.
It is amazing. And what's even more amazing is, you remember when you signed off with me the last time we talked in December?
What did I say?
How about a third time? Let's do it a third time. And I chuckled because we both were thinking, my thinking at the time was the Commanders would be the 7th seed. We'd be the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play again.
Yes.
And then you guys have just upended the whole dance party.
That's right. I'm interested. I'm glad you brought up things I said, because there's actually 2 things I want to bring up that you said for our audience so that you can hear. And one's a public one that I'll get to next, but the other one's a private one, and I know you won't mind me sharing that in text.
Oh, never.
A week ago, you told me you were rooting for us because you wanted to play the Commanders again, to which I went, beware of what you wish for here. So nothing that happened in Detroit has at all given you any pause about your wish coming true this weekend.
Oh, believe me, Saturday night was one of the most jaw-dropping. Honestly, one of the most jaw-dropping things I think I've ever seen in the NFL playoffs. The fashion with which it was done, the energy that Washington played with, the urgency with which they played. That was a marvelous game to just be a fan of football and watch. But remember, you're leaving out something about my text to you.
Yeah.
My text was also, I wanted the home game.
Yeah, I hear you.
And the thing is, I would have taken a home game to go to the Super Bowl over a trip to Detroit to go to the Super Bowl anytime you wish, because this Eagles team at home is a dominant team since Nick Sirianni. So I just feel good about that. But Saturday night, Bram, and you know that I've told you this since the beginning. I thought when your ownership changed, I said to you at the time, yeah, I really don't like that. I don't like Daniel Snyder being gone, because I felt, okay, now you're going to get somebody in the room who does a better job. And then I was like, oh, they hired Dan Quinn, eh? Yeah, that's it. And I knew Dan very, very well, watched him up close and personal. And I said, okay, that's another one that I'm not really thrilled with, because I know what kind of a leader of men Dan Quinn is. And then, if you remember, when you drafted Jaden Daniels, I begged publicly on social media. I said, I can't believe the Bears are going to pass on Jaden Daniels in the draft. And I was wishing for Chicago to take Jaden Daniels, because the respect I had for that kid coming out of college. And he has exceeded every threat that I saw him to be. He's exceeded it. I mean, it's been a real pleasure to watch. If he was just a guy you met maybe once a year, it'd be one thing. But the kid's been a nightmare, and I think Washington fans, you guys got to be so excited. And you've told me all the stories of getting to watch him up close and personal. Everything I'd heard about him was great. Everything that I had seen with my own eyes was great. And this year, it is one of the best rookie seasons I've ever seen in the sport.
Well, if he gets to the Super Bowl, he'll be the first rookie quarterback to ever start it. And
it's crazy.
He's broken every prominent rookie record. It is the best rookie season that any quarterback's had in the modern era. And I thought it was interesting because I was kind of there's a lot of mystical crap going on here right now. Like, there was a rookie quarterback that won a championship. It was here, Sammy Baugh. So this is yesteryear, 1937. Wow. He did that. And you want the numerology that's going around in here, the Da Vinci Code stuff. Sammy Baugh wore the number 33. It's been 33 years since Washington got to the NFC Championship game. So there's a lot of weird, mystical ghosts of the past that are kind of like happening here. Like, the greatest rookie season by any quarterback ever is Sammy Baugh, but nobody knows this. How about this one? He threw for 355 yards in an NFL championship game in 1937. the most yards that it was not surpassed by a single other rookie quarterback in any playoff game until 2012. Till 2012.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I know. It is ridiculous.
That's not. I got some numerology for you, though.
Yeah.
Because we got our own. You know what day it is on Sunday? It's January 26th.
Okay.
126. That's Hurts and Saquon. And that is what. That's the way we're. That's numerology. That's our numerology.
Oh man! See, I thought we had everything working in our favor. You just hit me up with something. All right.
No,
okay.
You do. You guys do have everything, and you know the respect that I have for every single thing that I had said to you before. I am absolutely amazed with what Coach Bro, as we used to call him in Atlanta, Coach Dan, has managed to accomplish.
Yeah.
What your general manager managed to do, a Howie Roseman, by knowing how to go out and get veterans that would fit what Dan Quinn wanted to do.
Yep.
The job by your coordinator, your offense coordinator, has been nothing less than spectacular.
100%.
In his crafting of a young quarterback. I mean, this is an amazing story. It's all been amazing. And more importantly, you talked about it as it's the biggest game in the rivalry ever, and that's the truth. But I look at this as chapter one.
I agree.
Of the new rivalry, because now I'm looking at it and going, oh, well, okay, now we can expect a dogfight every year in the division for years to come. The Eagles have the youngest defense in the NFL, and they're the number one defense. And then we got this star quarterback in Washington, and you got a coach on both of the coaches are sort of like rah, inspirational, get the most out of their guys. This is going to be something to watch for years to come. Plan on no 1:00 games, Bram.
Yeah, 100%.
There will be no 1:00 games.
Yeah,
and it's been great to see. I'm sorry it's going to end on Sunday for you, but I think it's been something that you can enjoy, and you'll look back on finally as just the beginning.
I'm glad you said that, because the other thing I wanted to bring up that you said to me, which you did publicly, actually twice, right. And I'm going to remind you what you said on this show and what you said on your own show when I visited you before the second meeting, and you just offhanded said a couple of times, don't talk to me about this beating a team 3 times in 1 year thing. And you cited all these facts of which it actually doesn't happen all that often. You did. And I remember thinking, I went, they haven't beaten us twice. They're just assuming that they've won the second matchup. And you were overlooking them then.
I'm guilty.
Yes.
Guilty. Now, guilty is charged.
Yes.
But what I would say to you is, I didn't expect with a 14-0 lead and absolutely scorching the Commanders, where it was just lopsided.
This was preemptively, though. You were telling me the week leading in, don't at me with the beating a team 3 times. And I said, and I'm like, but you haven't won twice yet.
That's because I assumed. I didn't assume Jalen Hurts would get 11 snaps in the second meeting and be up 14-0.
We can go through the excuses. We can go through that if you'd like.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There are excuses and there are reasons.
Okay.
There is no way you're going to spin it as an excuse that Jalen Hurts got knocked out of that game with a cheap shot, by the way. That rather cheap, but we've seen that. I saw it again Saturday night. So let's not spin it. The Eagles were dominating that game, and they managed to stay into it till the last second with their backup quarterback putting up a ton of yards.
Their backup quarterback is a first-round pick from 3 years ago. You act like this guy stinks, and you got him out of Central Michigan.
No, I'm glad. Look, Kenny Pickett, it's fine. You know what I like to do? I like to walk by and say, hey, Kenny, how you doing? That's about it. I don't want to watch him play. I have no interest in watching him play, but it was a spectacular day. And then when C.J. Gardner-Johnson went out, you guys got 21 points after he went out.
Okay.
And it was.
I didn't know he was the defensive MVP, but please go on.
I can tell you this. Well, the number one defense in the NFL, I can tell you that in that secondary, the runs, the scrambles in that second matchup, I was just watching it before coming on with you here. The scrambles that went on in that by Jaden Daniels, credit to him. He's freaking spectacular. I love watching him, as long as he's not terrorizing my team. And but that hasn't happened all year on this Birds team, and it won't happen again with a healthy complement of the entire team.
Okay, all right. So let me go back. Okay, one more than the excuse thing. It's excuses.
Reasons.
Okay, all right, fine. What position does Jalen Hurts play on defense? Because I don't remember ever seeing him play on that side of the ball.
Oh no, he doesn't play on. He does not play on that side of the ball at all.
So you want to explain to me how Washington had 5 turnovers, really 6 because there was a turnover on downs. Philadelphia, who, since Kenny Pickett stinks so much, had the ball for 10 minutes of the third quarter, and somehow Washington scored 36 anyway. Well,
here's what I would suggest to you. If Jalen Hurts is in the game, they produce the same turnovers, and they don't have their backup quarterback. They're one of the best they were the best time of possession team in the NFL. When Jalen Hurts plays, they're number 1 in time of possession. So let's see, 5 turnovers, minimum 4 minutes a pop, 3 minutes a pop. That's a totally different game with their starting quarterback. Okay. There's never the opportunity to touch the ball that much. Kenny Pickett throws a pick 6, which, by the way, Jalen Hurts has 1 interception since the bye week. Oh, that's number 1 in the NFL too since his bye week.
Kenny Pickett didn't throw a pick 6 in that game. He threw a pick, but he didn't throw a pick 6 in that game.
That was a pick that gave the ball deep in their own.
Okay, but it wasn't a pick 6. No. Again, you guys are. Do you know how historically unprecedented it basically is to be like +5 in turnovers and lose to anybody?
Oh, it was crazy.
To anybody.
And you know what does that tell you though? It tells you that it'll never happen again. That's what that tells
actually,
you. That's why something.
If we're +5 against you guys in turnovers and we were +5 against Detroit, we will beat you badly. That's what will happen.
The Eagles are, I believe, the number 1 team in turnover ratio in like the last 2 months.
Yes.
And you know what's funny is they turned it on like a spigot because for the whole year we were bitching and complaining about the fact that they weren't turning people over. And then all of a sudden now they're getting 3-4 a game, which is weird because they were doing nothing with the turnovers. They were winning, but they weren't turning people over. Now all of a sudden they're getting a bunch of turnovers. But it's going to be so much fun. Have you figured out if this is what? And if Coach Dan's listening, if he found out how to sneak a 12th guy onto the field to be fun?
Well, therein lies obviously the problem. But I got to say this, okay? And this is what changed in the second half of that game defensively was Washington brought a lot more people in the box, and part of that was Pickett, for sure was Pickett, like no doubt about it. But here's the thing, like. And maybe you know a little bit more than I do. And we're taping this on Tuesday, and the Eagles aren't going to say anything publicly about it. But Jalen Hurts got injured. His knee got injured the other day. If he's incapable of running, if he's incapable of moving well laterally, that's what Washington's going to do again. And they're going to force him to throw the ball. So I wonder how you kind of see it and feel about that if Jalen Hurts is marginalized as a weapon.
I think that would be, if that was the case, I think that would be a huge, huge thing that would benefit the Commanders' chances to win the game. I do not believe it as we speak on Tuesday recording this. I do not believe that to be the case. In fact, my ears are telling me that they have gotten favorable news on Jalen Hurts, and that they have also gotten, more importantly, favorable news on their star young quarterback, Quinyon Mitchell, who I think, honestly, it has as big an impact on this game of just being able to hang with people and make sure that they're full complement of players. I think it's one of the reasons there was a big move today on Tuesday in the betting markets towards the Eagles, 1.5 points.
Yeah, it is a lot
in some places. And usually to me, being connected with that and always following that, I usually always connect that, Bram, when it's early in the week on injury information
100%
out. That's positive.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Any movement at this time of week with no actual news out there, I 100% agree with you. It's not
especially when 70, like as of right now, before I came on with you, 74% of the quote, quote, sharp money went the Eagles' way.
Yeah.
And to me, that's out. By the way, I'm going to tell you, I think that's outrageous. I think it's outrageous considering what I've seen out of the Commanders. I think that's a little rich for my blood.
Yeah.
Honestly. But these guys, they don't build the billion-dollar casinos because they're dumb. I don't know what they think they know, but I don't know if they think they should. I think if they underestimated Dan Quinn team in this spot, I think they're making a mistake. And that's the kind of respect I have for the man.
So because I actually wanted to ask you about this because you were in Atlanta, like on the radio, they're covering them during their heyday when they went to a Super Bowl, right? And here's the thing about this team with him. They're extremely poised. I think that has a lot to do with number 5. They've won a lot of really close games. I think it has a lot to do with execution as well. But if you watch them, their communication's incredible. The operation's incredible. Like, I think Quinn and the coaching staff deserve a lot of credit here. They manage games well. They don't misuse their timeouts. They're ready for the moment. They're consistently ready for the moment. It's happened over and over and over this year. And one time happened against Philadelphia late when they were able to manage the clock and win a game late. Was Quinn like this in Atlanta? Was that part of the success story for him with the Falcons when they were really good?
He was terrible with clock management. Dan Quinn, I would say, I used to joke on the air. If Dan Quinn was calling a 2:00 meeting, he's probably showing up at 2:08 because he was terrible with clock management. And that, to me, is one of the impressive things, though, about Dan Quinn, is that he is a guy, he brought in a coach, and I'm sorry that I can't remember his name, but he was a coach in Atlanta, and he was from Rutgers. He had formerly been on the staff at Rutgers. He brought the guy in, and literally Dan had no problem talking about it. He was brought in, and one of his main responsibilities on game day was to counsel Dan on clock management, strategy, challenges, and things like that.
We have that here too now. We have that. That's a carryover. That happened here too now.
Well, then that to me is a man who says, I'm really good at a lot of things, but I might not be really good at that. So I'm willing to have somebody come in, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I think that's who Dan Quinn is. And I know you know him because you've gotten to know him this year. You're not talking about – there's not a huge ego involved with Dan Quinn. He's not a guy who I think he is a wonderful share of the success.
100%.
And so I think that he realized he was terrible with clock management. I mean, I honestly – I wouldn't have picked him in a game of Connect 4 as a strategist either when he started out. Even his Super Bowl year, I was like, okay, it's Kyle Shanahan at the time, and Kyle Shanahan was the mastermind of that offense, and he got Matt Ryan to a MVP that year, and they went to the Super Bowl. But defensively, Dan was always more involved with the defensive side of the ball, and he was not a guy who in any way was a master strategist.
Huh. And I mean, listen, I mean, the most famous example, of course, is the Super Bowl. They were up 28-3. And honestly, had they managed the clock a little bit better, I don't think New England would have ended up ultimately having enough time to catch them in the end.
Well, I think I may have told you this before. When if you go back from the Super Bowl, when they were up 28-9, so New England scores when it's 28-3, they get a touchdown. They went for 2 and they missed it. So it was 28-9. The Falcons had the ball with a little time left in the third quarter. It was around a minute. If the Falcons, every offensive snap from that point on, had snapped the ball with 3 seconds or 2 seconds left on the play clock, Tom Brady would not have had time to even get the ball back for the game-winning drive, for the game-tying drive. And the thing was, Doug Peterson studied that leading up to the Super Bowl the next year when he was playing New England. And if you ever go back and you see that or you watch the thing, every time Nick Foles snapped the ball, it was like 2 seconds left on the clock. Yeah. He was going to make it the shortest game possible, so Tom Brady had less possessions. And it ended up working out in their favor.
All right. I've kept you long enough, so I just want to ask you one more, because you have once again just dismissively said it's going to end Sunday. You're giving them no chance, really. I want to know. Well, I want to know, why do you or other people up there, considering they already beat the Eagles once, I don't understand where this misplaced overconfidence really is going. I mean, listen, we're not sitting here thinking, oh, definitively we're going to win. Nobody down here feels that way. I can promise you that. But the Lions were totally dismissive of them. The Buccaneers were totally dismissive of them. I don't know what they have to do to be here.
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm being totally dismissive, just because I'm thinking that the best team in the NFC that remains, a team that is dominant at home, a team that has the number one defense in the NFL, a team that has the number one offensive line in the NFL, a team that has the number one running back in the NFL, a team that has 2 wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith that are as good a tandem as any in football. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's being arrogant or it's being dismissive to pick them to win the NFC title game at home.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, what I will say to you is that are there ways that I could see the Commanders winning this game? Absolutely. But I believe it would require the Eagles to do things to give it to them, where it would have to, and then they'd have to take advantage of it. It would have to be the Eagles giving up the ball. It would have to be the Eagles turning over the ball. It would have to be the dumb mistakes like that. And the thing is I've watched them all year and I really haven't seen it. And so I have no reason to believe that all of a sudden that's going to be something that sinks their entire season. The one thing I would watch out for is this. They have left points off the board because of some of those mental errors and things like that. They left. I did the math this morning. They left on the other day. They should have been up by 19 at the end of that game. It should never come down to that because A.J. Brown dropped the ball on the 1 yard line, dropped the ball right in his breadbasket, 1 yard line, didn't catch it. And then they ended up getting knocked out of field goal position. That cost them 7 points there because if it's first and goal on the 1.
100%.
Jake Elliott misses 2 extra points. They're tush pushing from the 1, and all of a sudden, I've never seen Lane Johnson never gets a penalty, and he gets a penalty. He jumps offside, which costs them 4 points because they had to settle for a field goal. They then had to drop on 4th down and kick the field goal. There were a lot of points left off the board, and they did it against Green Bay too. And I do believe this, and I said it this morning on my show. If they do that against the Commanders, I do believe they can lose this game. But I don't think it's going to happen, and I think the Eagles are going to win the game.
Well, I appreciate your confidence, and we'll.
I appreciate.
Here's how I'll put it. We'll see what happens.
I get another hug from you.
That's right, you do. That's right, you do.
What are you putting it as?
What do I think is going to happen?
Yes.
I think, for 2 reasons. One, I don't know Hurts' relative health. If they find that he is marginalized, I'm assuming he's going to play. But, if he's marginalized, he can't move. He's not going to do zone reads. He can't really move laterally very much. I think that changes their defensive game plan on Barkley, and they're going to force him to throw the ball. And then we'll see what happens there. Secondarily, Washington's offensive line, we just lost our best offensive lineman. We already had a problem with the Eagles' defensive line. Everybody does, but we really did. So I see this as points at a premium. I think first 1 to 20 wins. I don't think this is high scoring at all. And I think the team who makes the most mistakes loses. That's how I see it, really.
I like where you're thinking because I have actually also liked the under in this game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, I do think it's going to be more points at a premium also.
100%.
And we will watch those health reports. And I got to tell you this again, let's just call this chapter 1, Bram.
Yes.
Chapter 1, because it's going to be hopefully, and you know what? I will say this in kindness as I leave. You guys deserve this.
Oh.
You deserve to be a relevant franchise again. You deserve to be in the mix of have exciting players that cause people to wag their tongues and talk about the franchise and prime time like that. And hopefully you get a new stadium down near where the Ardle RFK site, which is where I would love to come see games because I think that was when it was spectacular.
Listen,
not in the middle of a suburban mall.
The heyday of our time, 80s and 90s, the Cowboys and Eagles were both really good too. And I think that's when it's the best. When these organizations are all vying for championships or have championship caliber teams all at the same time, that's when it's the best.
And and thankfully we can hope that the Cowboys are going to take a long time getting back to it. Let's leave this between us.
Yeah.
Let's just keep this between us.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing you Sunday, and I hope everybody enjoys Championship Sunday.
John, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem, buddy. Talk to you.
Hey, welcome back. So Mike Vrabel is hired as the head coach in New England. Josh McDaniels is his offensive coordinator. And why did you fire Bill Belichick?
This makes
the answer.
This just makes no sense.
You fired you hired his people.
Right. I don't get it. I don't get
it either.
Yeah. The only thing
I would thought Kraft would want to just go in a different direction just to say he went in a different direction and pick something else. But he didn't. They're going back to the well with very famous people of the organization who succeeded under the coach he fired. That just doesn't even make any sense to me, really.
The only thing I can legitimately kind of throw out here is was Belichick's coaching technique grading on players so badly that Kraft thought he had to make a change? I mean, it's the only thing I can think of. It's the only thing.
I guess I do feel like it's pretty obvious now that like Robert Kraft has an ego, wanted more credit for what was going on up there. It was being given to Belichick and Brady, that the argument was, what is it, Belichick or Brady? And there's some level of, because remember what came out about him, like really like pushing to be put in the Hall of Fame. Like he really wants to be in the Hall of Fame, which, you know, like, I don't care. Put him in. Go ahead. They've had a dynasty. Whatever. You know, like that's the way I kind of look at that one. I'm like, whatever. He's the owner of a dynasty. Go ahead. Put him in. Like, what's the difference? But that reads to me like, I really want some credit for this. I don't feel like I've been given any credit for this. And that's just hubris. Like that. And this is amazing to me that they circled back around to bringing his guys back. Well, what'd you fire him for? He's like the second all-time winningest coach of all time. If you're just going to bring his people back, it's weird.
The one thing I will say is this is like, I actually see the argument for having McDaniels. If you remember, McDaniels had Mac Jones look pretty good his rookie year. Like, remember, we thought he seemed to be good enough as a pro. And now you look at him, you're going to think he's probably going to do pretty good with Drake May now. It's just funny. Why did you deviate away from this stuff anyways? Or maybe Belichick didn't want to go down that well. I don't know. None of it really makes sense. But I guess if you're Kraft too, those guys are like a security blanket, clearly. Like, you didn't like testing the waters with Mayo being your head coach, and you went back to the old salt of who, you know, helped with your dynasty.
That actually reads like it's not going to go very well.
I agree. Actually.
But I don't know. You know, we'll see. But, you know, who knows? I mean, Drake May could turn out to be very good. So we'll have to see. I don't want to go today without mentioning that Pete Medhurst passed away. I didn't know him particularly well, but obviously we, you know, worked in the same circles for years. He was a terrific voice of Navy athletics for a long generation, a very long time. We never actually worked together. It's interesting that he's been doing this and I've been doing this for as long as we've done it in this market, and we never actually crossed paths on anything. We worked at the same stations, but at different times. But I know of his work. And I've subsequently heard some of the stories about his health and what happened, and it's awful. You know, it's terrible. I feel for his wife, for his family. I know what kind of work ethic he had, and you know, I'd heard a bunch of Navy broadcasts through the years. I thought he did just a tremendous job on their behalf. So I'm just, you know, sending my well wishes to his family. It's just a horrible, horrible story that happened yesterday.
No, I'm with you. I didn't work with Pete particularly, but we crossed paths a few times. I saw him a couple of times at Nats games too. I saw the Nats released a really good note on Pete. Pete was just one of the good dudes. He actually DM'd me. We DM'd back and forth a little bit a couple of years ago about some things, and he couldn't be nicer. Like, you know how this is. You know who the good ones are. And just talking with Pete for a little bit, you just knew like he was always one of the good ones. And the outpouring yesterday tells you that as well. And not to mention, like, you know how this business goes. You got to work multiple jobs really to make ends meet with this business. And Pete was the poster child of doing his own show over at TEM, having the Navy stuff, having the Nats stuff. Like, he did a bunch of things, and he's kind of your prototypical, you know, radio career. And he was a great guy doing all of it. I can't say enough nice things about him.
Last thing, nachos for everyone. The Capitals win last night. I watched through the second period. They had 9 shots, but were winning. Which was interesting. And then I saw the highlight of the Nacho goal that was given up, which ended up not mattering because they won anyway in regulation. But that was weird. And I hope it's not going to be a thing in Edmonton now. I guess if they had won, it would be a thing, but because they lost, it won't. But there was a plate of nachos on the ice on a goal that was scored against the Capitals last night.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I think I did tell you low scoring, by the way, 2-1 or 3-2. It ended up being 3-2. Luckily they won, and Logan Thompson and Spencer Carberry after the game kind of joked about it, but even Carberry was like, it's the NHL in 2025. Can I challenge that? Like, and I think he was kind of half joking with that. Logan did go out and say, though, he's like, I had to stay focused. I should have stayed a little bit more focused. It was a hell of a shot by Corey Perry, by the way. He's about to be 40 years old. But yeah, I think because they won, they didn't make a big deal out of it. But I think he was definitely distracted at least a little bit by it. So, yeah, luckily it doesn't matter. But the NHL's got to look into that one. That was a weird one.
All right, so the West Coast trip starts well. They get a win with no McDavid last night, but they win. What's Kraken next, right, in a couple days?
Kraken at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah. Have fun, brother. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. Bram wants to show you at 6:30 the Sports Capital.